The massive crystalline dome of the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber loomed like a frozen wave about to crash down. Ambassador Marcus Thorne stood alone at the center of the circular platform, his black formal uniform a stark contrast against the gleaming white floor. Hundreds of alien delegates from across the Milky Way peered down at him from tiered seating that stretched up into shadows. The 7 High Counselors, representatives of the oldest spacefaring civilizations, sat on elevated thrones directly before him. Marcus kept his breathing steady, though his heart hammered in his chest. The council chamber was designed to intimidate, to remind visitors of their insignificance in the grand cosmic order. The soaring ceiling depicted a holographic map of the galaxy, with the thousands of worlds under council control pulsing with soft blue light. Earth was there too, a tiny recently added dot at the edge of a spiral arm. The evidence has been presented, announced High Counselor Vex Mora, her translucent tentacles rippling with bioluminescent patterns of disapproval. Her massive form towered over the other counselors, her 3 compound eyes fixed unblinkingly on the human before her. Humanity's rapid technological advancement poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Marcus kept his posture straight, his face neutral. Behind his calm exterior, his augmented neural implant was recording everything. Transmitting directly to Earth Command through quantum channels the Council believed they had blocked. Species 4291, designation human, intoned Counselor Drath, a massive reptilian being whose metallic scales clicked together in agitation as he consulted a floating data display. Your species reached the stars barely 2 centuries ago, yet already you have repurposed our defensive technologies into weapons we cannot comprehend. You have refused categorization. You have rejected assigned territories. The gallery of alien delegates murmured in agreement. Marcus noted the reactions. Some species seemed genuinely concerned, others appeared smug. Political factions existed even here, in the supposedly unified council. We came in peace, Marcus responded, his voice amplified throughout the chamber by unseen technology. We offered trade, cultural exchange. You offered subjugation disguised as cooperation, thundered Counselor Eubraxis, pounding a crystalline appendage on his throne. The crystalline being's body refracted light in angry red patterns. The Council has monitored your communications. Your leaders speak of human destiny among the stars. Your military simulations prepare for conflicts with superior forces. Your colonization projections extend well beyond your assigned boundaries. Marcus fought back a surge of anger. The Council's surveillance of supposedly private Earth communications violated their own charter. But pointing this out now would only inflame the situation. Every species has ambitions, he said carefully. We've adhered to every formal agreement. Technically, perhaps, said Vex Mora, but the spirit of cooperation has been absent. Your kind advances too quickly, adapts too readily. The carefully balanced hierarchy of galactic civilization requires each species to advance at an appropriate pace. A murmur rippled through the gathering. Marcus noticed several mid-tier species representatives shifting uncomfortably. Not everyone agreed with this verdict. The Council's rigid control over technological development had kept many civilizations artificially constrained for centuries. The Council has voted, continued Vex Mora. Earth will be quarantined. All human colonies will be dismantled. Your fleets will be decommissioned under our supervision. The chamber fell silent. Even among the Council's harsh judgments over the millennia, this was extreme. Nearly a death sentence for a spacefaring civilization. And if we refuse? Marcus asked, already knowing the answer. High Counselor Vex Mora rose, her massive form seeming to fill the chamber. Then the Galactic Armada will enforce compliance. You have 48 standard hours to begin the disarmament process. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, activated his neural link, received confirmation that Fleet Admiral Helena Rivera had been monitoring the entire proceeding. The Council believed humanity's main fleet was gathered defensively around Earth. They had no idea about Project Umbra. He opened his eyes, looked directly at the High Council. Humanity respectfully rejects your verdict. We came to you as equals, not as subjects. We will not disarm. We will not be caged. Gasps echoed through the chamber. No species had ever directly refused a council judgment in recorded history. Then you choose extinction, Vex Mora declared, her tentacles flashing warning patterns. The combined might of 1,000 worlds will descend upon your homeworld. Your colonies will be reduced to ash. This is not a negotiation, human. A small smile touched Marcus's lips. No, counselor. You have chosen war. And there's something you should know about humans and war. His neural implant pulsed, indicating the quantum transmission had been received and the final authorization code entered. Throughout the chamber, delegates' communication devices simultaneously activated with an incoming transmission from deep space. On every screen appeared the face of Admiral Helena Rivera, her steel-gray hair pulled back severely, her expression grim but resolute. Behind her stood the bridge of the UEF Intrepid, Earth's most advanced dreadnought. This is Admiral Helena Rivera of the United Earth Fleet to all Galactic Council members, she announced, her voice calm and measured. Since you chose war, I suggest you watch and learn. The chamber erupted in chaos as the screen switched to external views of space around the Council's orbital station. What they saw was impossible. Hundreds of human warships decloaking simultaneously, having surrounded the supposedly impregnable Council headquarters without detection. Sleek, predatory vessels of a design no Council member had seen before. Humanity had been developing technologies in secret, far beyond what they had revealed. Impossible, bellowed Counselor Drath. Our detection grids are the most advanced in the galaxy. We're the most advanced, Marcus corrected. Quantum displacement technology. We perfected it after the Arcturus incident last year, an incident your intelligence services reported as a simple navigational malfunction rather than a deliberate attack on our research outpost. The High Counselors conferred frantically, their aides rushing forward with tactical displays. The human fleet had positioned itself not just around the Council station, but at key strategic points throughout the system. The trap was never for Earth, it was for the Council. You cannot hope to stand against the combined forces of the Galactic Council, said Vexmora, though her confident tone had faltered. We don't intend to fight the entire Council, Marcus replied, only those who voted for our extinction. He gestured toward the gallery of lesser delegates. How many of you have suffered under the technology restrictions imposed by the High Council? How many of your worlds have been denied advancements that could have saved millions of lives, simply because it might disrupt the proper order of development? Murmurs spread through the chamber again, louder this time. The political factions Marcus had noted earlier were becoming more defined as several mid-tier delegates stood in apparent support. Admiral Rivera's voice came through again. We have transmitted documentation of High Council violations of the Galactic Charter to every member world simultaneously. The selective enforcement of development restrictions. The deliberate suppression of certain species while favoring others. The hidden technologies the 7 high races keep for themselves. The chamber descended into near chaos now. Accusations flew between delegates. Ancient grievances long suppressed under Council authority burst to the surface. You've doomed us all to war, hissed Vexmora, leaning forward from her throne to address Marcus privately. The stability of 1,000,000 years undone by human arrogance. Not arrogance, Marcus corrected. Hope. The galaxy deserves better than stagnation enforced by fear. On the main view screen, Admiral Rivera addressed the Council again. We have no desire for galactic domination. Humanity proposes a new framework, equal development rights for all sentient species, technological cooperation rather than restriction, mutual defense rather than hierarchical control. Several of the lesser Council members were openly signaling agreement now. The balance of power was shifting before their eyes, and Marcus Thorne, standing calmly at the center of the storm, simply said, We tried diplomacy first. Now let's negotiate again, as equals this time. High Counselor Vexmora sank slowly back into her throne, her tentacles dim with what might have been shock or resignation. You have no idea what you've done. Human, she said quietly. Marcus looked up at her, his gaze unwavering. Actually, Counselor, we know exactly what we've done. We've changed the galaxy. The question now is whether you'll help shape that change or be left behind by it. Around the Council station, the human fleet maintained its position. Not firing, not threatening, simply present, a silent statement that the old order had ended. And within the Grand Chamber, the first tentative discussions of a new galactic framework began among former enemies and unexpected allies. The Council chamber had transformed from a court of judgment into a war room. The massive crystalline dome above now projected tactical displays rather than the galaxy map. showing the human fleet's perfect encirclement of not just the Council station, but key strategic points throughout Council space. What had been designed as a place of awe-inspiring majesty now buzzed with frantic activity as delegates huddled in groups, their attention divided between the ongoing negotiations and the military standoff playing out above them. Marcus Thorne now stood not as a defendant, but as humanity's ultimatum bearer. The circular platform where he had been judged hours before had been replaced with a conference table where representatives from 24 of the most influential council worlds sat across from him. Behind Marcus stood 2 additional human diplomats who had been rushed from Earth via quantum transport, Director Eliza Donovan of Earth Intelligence and General Thomas Reed of the United Earth Defense Force. "Impossible," whispered Counselor Drath, his reptilian scales now pale with shock as he studied a holographic display of the human vessels. "Our detection grids are the most advanced in the galaxy. These ships should have triggered at least 17 different types of proximity alerts." "Were the most advanced," Marcus corrected, echoing his earlier statement. "Quantum displacement technology. We developed it after studying the debris from the Velderan vessel that attacked our colony on Proxima Centauri b. The same attack your council claimed was a natural stellar phenomenon." High Counselor Vex Mora's tentacles had lost their luminescence, a sign of extreme distress in her species. She sat slumped in what had once been her throne of judgment, now merely an uncomfortable seat at a hastily arranged negotiating table. "You've had this capability for how long?" she asked, her voice barely audible even through the chamber's amplification system. Director Donovan stepped forward, her silver-streaked black hair framing a face that betrayed nothing of her thoughts. "Long enough to place phase-shifted observation posts throughout Council space. Long enough to document 17 separate violations of your own Charter of Rights regarding emerging species. Long enough to record the Council's secret meetings planning the systematic resource drainage of human-controlled systems." With a gesture, she activated the evidence screens. Every display in the chamber simultaneously showed recorded meetings, intercepted transmissions, covert operations against human outposts. The middle-tier species delegates began shouting accusations at the High Council. Meanwhile, throughout Council space, human vessels had appeared in orbit around key military installations. Not attacking, simply present, weapons-powered but inactive. A show of force unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. "Your governance model is broken," Marcus continued, his voice cutting through the rising chaos. "You 7 species have controlled galactic development for millennia, restricting technologies, limiting expansion, all to maintain your dominance. That ends today." Admiral Rivera's face reappeared on the main screen, her command center now showing additional officers coordinating the massive fleet operation. "We have transmitted these documents to every spacefaring civilization simultaneously. The truth about how the Council operates is now public knowledge." Counselor Eubraxis stood, his crystalline form vibrating with rage, sending prismatic patterns dancing across the walls. "This is a declaration of war. The combined forces of the Council will what?" General Reed interrupted, speaking for the first time. His weathered face showed the scars of numerous campaigns. "Our fleet has your command centers targeted. But more importantly, we've just transmitted the access codes for the Council's weapon restriction protocols to every mid-tier civilization you've been suppressing. Your technological monopoly ended approximately 3 minutes ago." The chamber erupted again as dozens of delegates received confirmation from their homeworlds. Suddenly, technologies that had been mysteriously beyond their capability were unlocking across their networks. Weapon systems previously non-functional due to hidden restrictions suddenly came online. Communication networks free from Council monitoring sprang into existence. "Humanity doesn't want war," Marcus said, voice cutting through the chaos. "We want reform, a new Council, equal representation, technological freedom, an end to the caste system you've imposed on the galaxy." A sharp crack echoed through the chamber as Vex Mora brought down her ceremonial staff. "You cannot simply rewrite 10,000 years of galactic order in a day, human." Marcus looked up at her, expression hardening. "We're not rewriting it in a day. We're giving you 48 hours, the same deadline you gave us. Accept reformation of the Council, or we will support the formation of a new galactic governing body with the middle-tier worlds." As if perfectly timed, proximity alarms began to sound. On the external displays, Ships from dozens of other civilizations were arriving, positioning themselves alongside the human vessels. The Arcturus Confederation, the Proxima Alliance, the Tau Ceti Compact, civilizations that had suffered under council restrictions for centuries. It seems, Marcus said quietly, that we weren't the only ones who objected to your methods. You've started something you cannot control, said Councillor Drath, rising from his seat. These lesser species, they've been contained for a reason. Some possess aggressive tendencies that would destabilize entire sectors if left unchecked. Director Donovan's laugh was cold. Aggressive tendencies? Like the Juliks, whose only crime was developing faster-than-light communication that couldn't be monitored by council systems. Or the Solvarians, whose crime was creating medical technology that would have eliminated the council's monopoly on life extension treatments. The tension in the room shifted as more mid-tier delegates stood, moving away from their traditional positions to gather around the human representatives. Millennia of resentment was finding voice in this unprecedented moment of council vulnerability. A soft chime sounded, and a new hologram appeared above the center of the table, a rotating display showing worlds across the galaxy where populations were taking to the streets. Council administrative centers under peaceful protest, mid-tier worlds celebrating. The data suppression had been so complete that many civilizations were only now learning how thoroughly they had been controlled. This is why your system is failing, Marcus said, gesturing to the display. Not because of human interference, but because it was built on deception rather than consent. No system of governance can survive once its foundation of lies is exposed. High Counselor Vexamora slowly rose, her massive form now seeming diminished somehow. What are your terms? The question silenced the chamber immediately. In the 10,000-year history of the Council, the High Seven had never asked for terms. They had only ever dictated them. Marcus exchanged glances with his fellow humans, then nodded. First, immediate dissolution of the current council structure. Second, formation of a transitional authority with equal representation from all spacefaring civilizations. Third, immediate cessation of all technology restriction protocols. Fourth, full disclosure of all council secret archives and technologies. You would destroy everything we've built, whispered Vexmora. No, Marcus replied firmly. We would transform it. What worked for a smaller, simpler galaxy 10,000 years ago doesn't work for the complex interstellar community we have now. Evolution is necessary even for governing systems. On the tactical displays, more ships continued to arrive, not just military vessels now, but diplomatic shuttles, observation craft from neutral worlds, even media transmission ships from civilizations eager to document this historic moment. The 7 races have ruled for too long, called out a delegate from a mid-tier world, their voice strong with newfound courage. The Galactic Charter promised equality. It's time that promise was kept. Others joined in, centuries of suppressed grievances pouring forth. The council chamber, designed to awe and intimidate, now rang with the voices of those who had been silenced. Councillor Eubraxis's crystalline form flashed with warning colors. This is not a negotiation. This is extortion backed by military threat. Exactly what you planned for Earth, General Reed replied evenly. The difference is we're offering you a place in the new order. You offered us only extinction. A sudden hush fell over the chamber as Vexamora raised all 4 of her upper limbs, the traditional gesture calling for silence. We require time to consult, she said, her voice now formal, controlled. The 7 must confer in private, Marcus nodded. You have 6 hours. But be aware, any attempt to activate emergency protocols, any signal to hidden forces, any effort to regain control through deception, we will know. And our response will be immediate. As the High Counselors withdrew to their private chamber, Marcus turned to address the remaining delegates. The gallery that had looked down upon him in judgment now looked to him for leadership, a transformation as sudden as it was profound. Representatives of the galaxy, he began. Today marks the beginning of a new era. Not human dominance replacing council dominance, but true cooperation. Each world determining its own path, each species advancing according to its own abilities and needs. Technology shared rather than hoarded, defense mutual rather than hierarchical. 24 hours into the standoff and the Grand Chamber had become a hive of frantic diplomacy. The majestic crystalline dome that had once inspired awe now felt claustrophobic as delegates from 97 civilizations participated in discussions that had continued without pause. The elegant architecture designed to showcase the Council's supremacy now served as the backdrop for its potential dissolution. Marcus Thorne stood at the center of a storm of activity. Holographic displays hovered around him, showing strategic positions of the combined human-allied fleet, status reports from worlds declaring independence from Council authority, and diplomatic communiques flooding in from previously silent neutral territories. The High Council's authority crumbled by the hour as more evidence of their millennia of manipulation came to light. 3 of the 7 High Councilors had already signaled their willingness to accept reform, recognizing the inevitability of change. But Marcus was uneasy. The remaining 4, led by Vexmora and Drath, had retreated for private consultation too readily. His neural implant pulsed with an encrypted alert from Earth Command. Unusual energy signatures detected near the ancient wormhole nexus in the Sagittarius arm. Admiral, Marcus subvocalized through his neural link, keeping his face impassive as he continued reviewing proposed charter amendments with a group of mid-tier delegates. I believe they're activating contingencies. In orbit, aboard the UEF Intrepid, Admiral Helena Rivera received his warning. Her tactical display suddenly shifted as quantum sensors detected massive energy buildups across multiple sectors. All ships' defensive positions, she ordered, her calm voice belying the gravity of the situation. They're bringing in reinforcements through the old gates. The wormhole nexus, technology so ancient even the Council claimed not to fully understand it, flared to life across multiple sectors simultaneously. The telemetry data streamed into the Grand Chamber, causing conversations to halt as delegates stared in shock at the emerging vessels. Massive warships of ancient design began materializing through the spatial ruptures. The legendary Guardian fleet, rumored to exist but never confirmed. The Council's final defense. Director Donovan approached Marcus, her expression grave. Those ships match no known design parameters in our database. Energy readings suggest weapons technology far beyond anything we've encountered. General Reed studied the tactical displays, his scarred face tight with concentration. Formation suggests defensive rather than offensive positioning. They're creating a perimeter, not preparing for immediate attack. In the chamber, the doors to the High Council's private retreat slid open. Vexmora and Drath returned, flanked by the other dissident councilors. Their demeanor had changed, the desperation replaced by a renewed confidence that sent a chill through the gathered delegates. Marcus confronted them immediately. You activated the Guardian fleet? Those ships are mythological weapons from the Precursor Wars. You risk the stability of space-time itself. High Councilor Vexmora's tentacles now pulsed with smug confidence. We built this galactic order, human. Did you truly believe we wouldn't have measures beyond your comprehension to protect it? The ancient warships, each larger than any modern vessel, took position throughout the system. Their weapons were technologies long forbidden, capable of stellar manipulation and worse. But Marcus smiled. We wondered when you'd reveal them, he said quietly. Thank you for confirming their existence. Vexmora's confidence faltered. What? Throughout the council chamber, all communication systems activated simultaneously, broadcasting a single voice. Dr. Amara Okafor, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist. Attention Guardian fleet vessels, she announced in a language so ancient most translation systems struggled to interpret it. Authentication sequence Harbinger Eternal Vigilance Starfall. Precursor command override accepted. The Guardian ships suddenly powered down their weapons. Their communication systems activated, responding in the same ancient language. In the chamber, Marcus faced the stunned council. 5 years ago, we discovered precursor ruins on a world in the Orion Spur, a world your star charts deliberately mislabeled as uninhabitable. We found records, command codes, and the truth about who really built your precious Guardian fleet. Impossible, whispered Counselor Drath, his scales losing color rapidly. Those ships respond only to the 7 bloodlines, a genetic marker your ancestors stole from the actual precursor species, Marcus finished. A species your 7 bloodlines helped drive to extinction after stealing their technology. We found their DNA records. We found everything. On the main display, The Guardian fleet's ancient symbols changed color from the Council's royal purple to earth blue. The Guardians were never meant to enforce tyranny, Marcus explained, his voice echoing through the now silent chamber. They were designed to prevent exactly the kind of galactic domination your ancestors established. And now they're returning to their original purpose. High Counselor Vex Mora collapsed back onto her throne. What have you done? Created balance, Marcus answered. The Guardian fleet will no longer serve any single power. Their command codes are being distributed to representatives from all spacefaring civilizations simultaneously. Collective control, just as the precursors intended before your ancestors betrayed them. The High Council's final contingency had become the instrument of their undoing. And across the galaxy, the balance of power shifted irrevocably. Director Donovan stepped forward, activating a new holographic display. We've prepared a draft of the transitional charter. All species equal under law. Technology restrictions limited only to weapons of mass destruction. Expansion rights distributed by population need rather than political influence. And most importantly, complete transparency in governance. The gathered delegates surrounded the display, eager to participate in this unprecedented moment of galactic restructuring. The chamber that had once served as the seat of absolute authority now hummed with genuine collaborative energy. But in a private communication channel, Admiral Rivera warned Marcus, "We're detecting unusual movements from the Outer Rim territories. The Council may have activated sleeper agents among less developed worlds." Marcus kept his expression neutral as he continued the proceedings, but his mind raced. The standoff could not continue indefinitely. Earth's show of force had worked, but the fleet could not remain deployed around Council space forever. Former High Counselor Vex Mora approached during a recess, her once proud form diminished. "You think you've created peace, human? You've only ensured chaos. The structure we built prevented 1,000 wars. The structure you built prevented natural development and justified exploitation," Marcus countered. "But I suspect you didn't approach me just to debate political philosophy." Vex Mora's tentacles twisted in what might be the equivalent of a bitter smile. "The Outer Rim has always been less civilized. The successor states to the Krell hegemony never fully accepted our authority. They certainly won't accept yours." Marcus's neural implant pinged with an urgent alert from Earth Command. Massive fleet movements detected beyond the rim, heading toward Council space. Not a Council trap, something else entirely. He looked at Vex Mora with sudden understanding. "You didn't just control these civilizations. You contained them. Some species cannot be reasoned with, human. The Krell successor states have been waiting centuries for a moment of Council weakness. We kept them in check through a system of carefully balanced threats and deterrence, a system you have just dismantled. The chamber's emergency systems activated. Long-range sensors detected the approaching armada, thousands of ships bearing the insignia of a dozen Outer Rim powers. Ancient enemies of the Council now seizing their opportunity." Marcus activated the general communication channel. "All delegates, we have an incoming situation. This chamber is the safest location in the system. Please remain calm." Admiral Rivera's face appeared on his private channel. "Marcus, the Rim fleet outnumbers us significantly. Even with the Guardian vessels, this will be a difficult engagement." For the first time since the standoff began, Marcus felt the weight of miscalculation. They had prepared for Council treachery, not for ancient vendettas suddenly unleashed. The reformed galactic government might die before it was even born. Then, an unexpected voice spoke up. Counselor Drath, the reptilian delegate who had been among Marcus's harshest critics. "The Rim states respect only power," he said, addressing the entire chamber. "They have no interest in your new order, human. They want vengeance for centuries of containment. But perhaps there is another approach." All eyes turned to the former High Counselor as he activated the chamber's strategic display, showing the approaching Rim fleets. The Council kept its most dangerous technologies hidden even from each other. Drath continued. "My people developed a form of psychic amplification that could influence the command decisions of hostile forces. We used it only 3 times in 10,000 years. Mind control?" Marcus asked, appalled. "No. Suggestion. Fear amplification. It could buy us time to evacuate crucial personnel." Admiral Rivera's voice cut in through the public channel. "Or it could give us time to demonstrate that the new galactic order has teeth." The once magnificent Grand Chamber now felt hollow. 3 days of continuous negotiation had left everyone exhausted. The ornate thrones of the High Council stood empty, their occupants now seated among the regular delegates as the new galactic charter took shape. The soaring crystalline dome, once a symbol of unassailable authority, now served as a war room as displays tracked the approaching Rim Armada. Marcus Thorne had barely slept, fueled by stimulants and neural enhancers. His voice was hoarse as he addressed the assembled representatives. The transitional government will consist of rotating representatives from all recognized spacefaring civilizations. Technology restrictions will be limited to only those systems with proven extinction-level capabilities. Expansion rights will be distributed equally, with priority given to overcrowded homeworlds. The voting system displayed overwhelming approval for each measure. Even the former High Council members had accepted the inevitable, though bitterness radiated from them. But in a private communication channel, Admiral Rivera's face appeared, lines of exhaustion evident even through the holographic display. Our intelligence networks are detecting unusual movements from the Outer Rim territories, she reported. The Council may have activated sleeper agents among less developed worlds. And the Rim fleet is accelerating. They'll reach our position in under 12 hours. Marcus kept his expression neutral as he continued the proceedings, but his mind raced. The standoff could not continue indefinitely. Earth's show of force had worked, but the fleet could not remain deployed around Council space forever. Former High Counselor Vex Mora approached during a recess, her once proud form diminished. You think you've created peace, human? You've only ensured chaos. The structure we built prevented 1,000 wars. The structure you built prevented natural development and justified exploitation, Marcus countered. But I suspect you didn't approach me just to debate political philosophy. Vex Mora's tentacles twisted in what might be the equivalent of a bitter smile. The Outer Rim has always been less civilized. The successor states to the Krell hegemony never fully accepted our authority. They certainly won't accept yours. Marcus studied the tactical display showing the approaching Rim fleet, a chaotic swarm compared to the disciplined formations of Council or human ships. These aren't just opportunistic raiders, are they? This is coordinated. The Krell were the 8th founding race of the Council, Vex Mora said quietly, before they were expelled for biological weapons use against civilian targets. Their descendants have nursed that grudge for 8,000 years. The revelation sent a chill through Marcus. You kept this information restricted. Of course we did. Knowledge of the Krell technology would have destabilized the galaxy. Their ships utilize directed evolution weaponry. They don't destroy targets, they mutate them. General Reed joined the conversation, his scarred face grim. You're saying these vessels can rewrite biological material at range? Turn populations into whatever they wish, Vex Mora finished. Slave species, biological processors, living weapons. The Krell view all life as malleable material. Director Donovan approached, bringing with her several delegates from worlds near the Rim. We've been comparing notes. The Rim states have been unusually active for the past standard year, recruiting from pirate groups, reactivating abandoned shipyards. They've been preparing for this. Marcus's neural implant pinged with an urgent alert from Earth Command. Massive fleet movements detected beyond the Rim, heading toward Council space. The chamber's emergency systems activated. Long-range sensors detected the approaching armada. Thousands of ships bearing the insignia of a dozen Outer Rim powers. Ancient enemies of the Council now seizing their opportunity. Marcus activated the general communication channel. All delegates, we have an incoming situation. This chamber is the safest location in the system. Please remain calm. Admiral Rivera's face appeared on the main display. Marcus, the Rim fleet outnumbers us significantly. Even with the Guardian vessels, this will be a difficult engagement. We're detecting unusual energy signatures consistent with large-scale biological manipulation technology. For the first time since the standoff began, Marcus felt the weight of miscalculation. They had prepared for Council treachery, not for ancient vendettas suddenly unleashed. The reformed galactic government might die before it was even born. Then, an unexpected voice spoke up. Councillor Drath, the reptilian delegate who had been among Marcus's harshest critics. The Rim states respect only power, he said, addressing the entire chamber. They have no interest in your new order, human. They want vengeance for centuries of containment. But perhaps there is another approach. All eyes turned to the former High Counselor as he activated the chamber's strategic display, showing the approaching rim fleets. The Council kept its most dangerous technologies hidden even from each other. Drath continued. My people developed a form of psychic amplification that could influence the command decisions of hostile forces. We used it only 3 times in 10,000 years. Mind control? Marcus asked, appalled. No. Suggestion. Fear amplification. It could buy us time to evacuate crucial personnel. Admiral Rivera's voice cut in through the public channel. Or it could give us time to demonstrate that the new galactic order has teeth. A plan began to form. Not a human plan or a council plan, but the first true cooperative strategy of the new galactic era. And as the rim fleets approached, the chamber that had witnessed the judgment of humanity now witnessed something unprecedented. Former enemies strategizing as allies. Dr. Okafor, who had decoded the precursor command systems, joined the tactical planning. The Guardian ships have defensive capabilities specifically designed against Krell bioweapons. If we combine that with Counselor Drath's psychic technology and human quantum displacement, we might be able to create a shield wall while simultaneously positioning strike teams inside their formation. The next 6 hours passed in frantic preparation. Scientists and military strategists from dozens of species worked together, combining technologies that had been kept separate for millennia. The chamber that had once housed political machinations now buzzed with collaborative innovation. Marcus addressed the combined fleet commanders from the central platform. This is not just about surviving the rim attack. This is about showing the galaxy what cooperation can achieve. We are not fighting to protect the old council or to establish human dominance. We are fighting to protect the possibility of a truly united galaxy. As the deadline approached, tension mounted. The rim fleet had entered the outer reaches of the system, their bizarre, asymmetrical vessels moving in patterns that defied conventional tactical analysis. Psychic amplification field ready, announced Counselor Drath, manipulating ancient controls that had been hidden within his ceremonial staff. The effect will ripple through their command ships in approximately 30 seconds. Admiral Rivera's fleet had repositioned to form the center of the defensive line, with Guardian vessels creating a perimeter, and the remaining Council ships filling gaps in the formation. All vessels, prepare for synchronized jump on my mark, Rivera ordered through the combined fleet channel. Quantum displacement generators at full capacity. Marcus Thorne stood in the Council chamber, now serving as the impromptu command center for the Allied defense. Around him, representatives from dozens of civilizations who, just days ago, had been at each other's throats now worked together with desperate urgency. The rim fleet is slowing, reported a Talarian officer, her feathered crest rising in surprise. Drath's amplification field is causing confusion in their command structure. Now, Marcus ordered. Admiral, execute jump sequence. The entire Allied fleet vanished simultaneously, the human quantum displacement technology now shared with their new allies. For 3 agonizing seconds, the defending vessels were nowhere to be seen. Then, with perfect synchronization, they reappeared, not in their defensive formation, but interspersed throughout the Rim Armada, each Allied vessel surrounded by enemy ships. Before the Rim commanders could react, Admiral Rivera's voice transmitted across all frequencies, directed at the invading forces. Attention all Rim vessels. Your ships are now within our weapons envelope. Each of your command vessels has multiple quantum torpedoes locked on its power core. You sought to take advantage of what you perceived as galactic weakness. Instead, you have given us the opportunity to demonstrate galactic unity. The chamber erupted in tension as they waited for the Rim fleet's response. The psychic amplification field ensured the Rim commanders felt the full weight of their predicament, surrounded, outmaneuvered, and facing weapons technologies they barely comprehended. They're powering down weapons, reported the Talarian officer. Main command vessels are requesting communication channels. Marcus stepped forward, flanked by representatives from both former Council worlds and newly empowered civilizations. This is Marcus Thorne, representing the Transitional Galactic Authority. The era of Council dominance has ended, but so has the era of Rim isolation and aggression. You are invited to send delegates to participate in the new galactic government, as equals, not as conquerors or as subjects. The massive view screens in the Council chamber displayed the approaching Rim Armada, a chaotic collection of warships representing civilizations long held at bay by Council threats and manipulation. Their communications broadcast only demands for surrender and promises of vengeance. The crystalline dome that had once inspired awe now felt like a fragile bubble about to burst under the weight of thousands of years of suppressed conflict. Marcus Thorne stood at the center of what had become a unified command center. Around him, former enemies worked with desperate focus. Council technicians alongside human engineers, mid-tier strategists conferring with Guardian ship commanders. The impossible alliance forged in crisis now faced its first true test. Psychic amplification field at maximum strength, reported Counselor Drath, his reptilian features tense with concentration as he manipulated controls embedded in his ceremonial staff. The ancient technology, one of many secrets the Council had kept hidden, now served as their potential salvation. The effect will ripple through their command ships in approximately 30 seconds. Admiral Rivera's fleet had repositioned to form the center of the defensive line, with Guardian vessels creating a perimeter, and the remaining Council ships filling gaps in the formation. On the main tactical display, the combined fleet appeared as a solid wall of resistance, yet they remained outnumbered nearly 3-1 by the approaching Rim forces. All vessels, prepare for synchronized jump on my mark, Rivera ordered through the combined fleet channel, her voice steady despite the enormous risk they were about to take. Quantum displacement generators at full capacity. Dr. Okafor monitored the Guardian ship's systems from a console that had once belonged to a High Counselor. Precursor defense fields charged and ready. They'll provide 18 seconds of protection against Krell bioweapons after the jump. Director Donovan's face was grim as she studied the approaching enemy formation. If this doesn't work, we won't get a second chance. The Rim commanders have distributed their command functions across multiple vessels, a countermeasure against decapitation strikes. It will work, Marcus said with more confidence than he felt. It has to. The Rim fleet entered the outer defense perimeter, their bizarre asymmetrical vessels moving in patterns that defied conventional tactical analysis. Their hulls bore the marks of dozens of different civilizations, united only by their hatred of the Council and their desire for vengeance. The Rim fleet is slowing, reported a Talarian officer, her feathered crest rising in surprise. Drath's amplification field is causing confusion in their command structure. Now, Marcus ordered. Admiral, execute jump sequence. The entire Allied fleet vanished simultaneously, the human quantum displacement technology now shared with their new allies. For 3 agonizing seconds, the defending vessels were nowhere to be seen. The Council chamber fell silent, every being holding their breath as they watched the enemy fleet continue its advance. Momentarily confused by the disappearance of their targets, then, with perfect synchronization, they reappeared, not in their defensive formation, but interspersed throughout the Rim armada, each Allied vessel surrounded by enemy ships but positioned with surgical precision near critical command nodes. Before the Rim commanders could react, Admiral Rivera's voice transmitted across all frequencies, directed at the invading forces. Attention all Rim vessels. Your ships are now within our weapons envelope. Each of your command vessels has multiple quantum torpedoes locked on its power core. You sought to take advantage of what you perceived as galactic weakness. Instead, you have given us the opportunity to demonstrate galactic unity. The chamber erupted in tension as they waited for the Rim fleet's response. The psychic amplification field ensured the Rim commanders felt the full weight of their predicament. Surrounded, outmaneuvered, and facing weapons technologies they barely comprehended. They're powering down weapons, reported the Talarian officer, disbelief evident in her voice. Main command vessels are requesting communication channels. Marcus stepped forward, flanked by representatives from both former Council worlds and newly empowered civilizations. This is Marcus Thorne representing the Transitional Galactic Authority. The era of Council dominance has ended, but so has the era of Rim isolation and aggression. You are invited to send delegates to participate in the new galactic government, as equals, not as conquerors or as subjects. The response came slowly, reluctantly, but it came. The Rim fleet began to stand down. In the chamber that had nearly witnessed humanity's subjugation, Marcus turned to face the gathered representatives. This is the first test of our new order. and we have passed it not through overwhelming force but through unity and innovation. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, and today we have chosen a new path forward. Former High Counselor Vexamora approached him, her tentacles now glowing with a subdued light that indicated deep contemplation in her species. Perhaps we underestimated your species, human. You came armed not just with weapons but with ideas. That has always been humanity's strength, Marcus replied. Not our technology but our adaptability. Not our force but our willingness to extend a hand even to those who once threatened us. He looked around at the diverse gathering of species, former oppressors and formerly oppressed, now standing together. The final command from the human fleet wasn't about destruction, he continued. When we said watch and learn, we weren't threatening annihilation. We were offering a lesson that the greatest power in the universe isn't control but cooperation. Outside, the merged fleet, human, guardian, council, and now tentatively including rim vessels, created a protective formation around the council station. Not a formation of conquest but of mutual defense, the first visual representation of a new galactic order. 1 week later, the Grand Chamber had been transformed. The hierarchical tiers that had once separated species by their council status had been reconfigured into a circular arrangement where all delegates sat at equal height. The former High Council thrones had been dismantled, their materials repurposed to create a central table where representatives from 12 regions of the galaxy sat as the inaugural transitional authority. Marcus Thorne prepared to depart. His role as catalyst was complete. Humanity would be represented in the new galactic government, but not in a position of dominance. That had never been the goal. Admiral Rivera joined him at the observation deck overlooking the chamber. Earth Command reports that the technology exchanges have begun. Medical advances from the Tellarians, energy efficiency improvements from the former Council worlds, even defensive applications from the Guardian Fleet Archive. The benefits of cooperation are already being felt. And the challenges? Marcus asked. Substantial, Rivera admitted. Cultural integration between former enemies. Resource allocation disputes. The Rim states remain suspicious, though they're participating. We're looking at decades of complex diplomacy. Marcus smiled. Exactly as it should be. Real unity isn't imposed. It's built conversation by conversation. Compromise by compromise, General Reed approached, accompanied by Dr. Okafor. The Guardian Fleet has accepted its new programming parameters. Equal defensive coverage for all member worlds, not just the former Council elites. They're already deploying to establish the new security network. And the precursor archives? Marcus asked, Dr. Okafor's eyes lit with academic enthusiasm. Being decrypted and shared through the new galactic library. Knowledge that was buried for millennia is finally available to all. The scientific advances alone will transform dozens of worlds that were deliberately kept technologically suppressed. Director Donovan joined them. Her usual stern expression softened slightly. The intelligence networks report widespread acceptance of the new order. There are holdouts, of course, isolated worlds, a few extremist factions. But the main threats have been neutralized or brought into the fold. Marcus looked out over the chamber one last time. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years now worked side by side, planning a future based on mutual benefit rather than dominance and submission. It was fragile, imperfect, but it was a beginning. You know, he said quietly. When they sent us here to face the Council's judgment, the worst-case scenario was war with a united galaxy. Instead, we found a galaxy waiting to be united. The final session of the day ended, and delegates began to file out of the chamber, not separated by rank or species, but mingling freely, continuing discussions that would shape the future of countless worlds. Ambassador Thorne, called a voice behind them. Marcus turned to see Counselor Drath approaching, his scales now bearing the blue-green colors of his natural state, rather than the metallic overlay that had been required under Council protocol. I've been authorized to present you with this, Drath said, extending a small crystalline object. It's the access key to the complete Council archives, unredacted, including all the secrets kept even from most Council members. The Transitional Authority voted unanimously that you should be its custodian. Marcus accepted the key with surprise. Why me? Because you had the power to destroy us and chose another path, Drath replied simply. Many species would have used their advantage to become the new oppressors. Humanity proved itself different. As Marcus prepared to board the shuttle that would take him back to the Intrepid, he took one